Okay, welcome back. It is time to go out and blow up some ships. I mean, it's my favorite activity in the game. Now, last time I was mostly in Null, I believe. Was basically running around in my old home systems. Well, technically home systems, but it used to be the area where I kind of started to play the game. Today we'll be around the same parts, around the same regions, around the same region to be more accurate. But it will be there will be some low sec action as well, and I believe that it's. I think it's been a pretty fun week. Definitely enjoying the. Well, not exactly the solo aspect, but I definitely enjoy flying a cruiser again. Not like I ever stopped flying cruisers, but you know, I started to really enjoy the cruiser class ships, and I do still fly the battleships, obviously. I mean, the Macariel's technically a oversized cruiser, but I think the sweet spot, at least for me, in my case, are cruisers, and I'm just having a lot of fun with these ships. Now, one question that actually I get several questions asked, not exactly daily, but quite often. How do I manage to scan targets without a scanner? And I think I covered that. I don't know how many times, but apparently it's not enough. So I'll just give a quick little example here on the very start. So I usually have one ship that's specialized for scanning. In this case, it's this Astro that I usually use for this purpose. I scan with the Astro, and I usually determine the distance, and I determine basically what kind of build the target has, so I can basically pick the right ship for the job. Now here we have a Dominix, I believe. Let me just double check that. I think it's a Dominix, but you know, yeah, it is Dominix. Oh, okay. Now the Dominix isn't in the mission right now, but they'll be back. Usually, I mean, lately I did miss a lot of ships lately, mostly because when I log in, everything in local just leaves the system, which is fine. It's just, you know, part of what I do. And when you have like 2.2 or 2.1 thousand videos out there, it's bound to happen, since there's so much videos out there that it's, you know, kind of hard not to memorize the name in local. And I've been told to change the name. Well, I don't really want to change the name because it's not something I like to do. It would be kind of like, it would kind of seem that I'm hiding if I change my name, so that I'm not going to change anything. Now, the other thing, when I determine the distance and the build of the ship, and usually I also look if the ship is aligned and stuff like that, I go and dock with the Astro, and then I pick the right ship for the drone. No, in this case, the target is a Dominix. Dominix is a drone boat tier 9, usually doesn't have a lot of tank, but they can have some pretty nasty DPS, so either a tanky cruiser, tanky battle cruiser, or I can use the good old Macariel or the Tempest in order to effectively engage and eliminate the target. And usually I do use the Macariel since it's fast, allows me to quickly warp in, quickly destroy the target, and allows me to quickly warp out. It can be useful, but at the same time, you know, when you use a certain ship for too long, it can get boring. So I like to change things from time to time, and in this case I'll use the Macariel, since the Dominix didn't really have a good warp-in. And I believe that the Dominix can actually warp off if I miss the warp. And it's very important to know from which direction you go to the target, since if you land just 1 kilometer away from your optimal range of the cameras or the points, the target can easily escape. And of course, very important to check if the target is aligned. If they are aligned, you need to have a alt to tackle it, or you need to do something that I like to call warp tackle, which basically means that you have to nail the exact millimeter of the location of the turret, and you basically ram the ship while you're landing. And it's very I didn't really do it that often. I probably need to start practice again because it's been a while since I actually had to use that. But that tactic is important. Important when you're alone, when you don't have any alts. In this case, in my case over here, since I usually don't use a tackle alt. If I do solo, I'm completely alone. And in this case, I'm going to engage the Dominics completely alone. So I'm warping at approximate distance. The Dominics did appear like they have been moving, so and there's no closer warping. So I'm just if I missed warping, if I land at the wrong spot, it's fine. I mean, you can't really catch all the ships, and lately I haven't had much luck with that, so I'm pretty much fine with missing targets. It's part of the game, and at one point in my, I guess, PvP or combat history, it's about to happen, so. And I landed about 54 kilometers away from the Dominics. Now you have one more trick up your sleeve, if they are not paying attention, and in this case it does look like this Dominics isn't paying attention. You can use the cover of the overview. What that means that the Dominics will not be able to see your ship on the overview, since I mean I don't see the Dominics right now because of the 7 or 8 NPC ships that are in the mission. And you know, the Dominics, if they're not paying attention, in this case it doesn't look like they're paying attention. You can actually approach them, and usually by the time they do spot you, it's too late. And this is one little trick that I love. I haven't had much chance to do this, but this is one such occasion where you can actually, you know, sneakily approach them even while they are in the mission. And it doesn't look like the Dominics has a lot of tank. Obviously, yeah, it's. I mean, I have like 15,000 DPS on this thing, so I'm not really surprised by that. But the Dominics has been destroyed. Could have probably taken the Ashmu for this, but I don't really trust the implants nowadays, and I mean, I could have taken the Ashmu honestly, but stabs and stuff like that kind of prevented from using the ship. And well, that was the first kill for today, and usually that's how I engage ships without a scanner. Although in reality I do have a scanner, it's just that I scan first and then I change ships. Much easier with an alt. I should be using an alt, but I want to stay true to my word that when I'm flying solo, that I'm completely flying solo without any alts or anything. And with that, I think I've been pretty, you know, pretty accurate when it comes to that. And of course, let's take a look at the kill medal. Now it did have a weird high slot setup there, and well, technically it's not cursed, but it's not a good build as well. It's kind of in the middle. Now let's go on a little chase. We have a hurricane, and let's see where they will warp. Oh, they are warping to 97x. Alright, I'll be chasing. The good thing is with the Saleos, you can pull this off with the Cinnabon as well, with any angel ship. With the you can also do this with the Damiel. I mean, interceptors, ships with fast warps are perfect for chasing down ships, and if you know where to go, where to look, and how to basically find targets, you can position yourself in such a way that you have a good overview in the pipe or in the central part of your system where you can see the whole traffic, and if you see a ship of interest, you can just follow them and you can just chase them. And basically what I've been doing in the last couple days, been chasing down ships, and it's been really fun. I've been enjoying it a lot. Now, one thing that is a bit tricky is to nail the. You have to basically tackle the ship before they warp off, and the mistake that I did here, I started to shoot, but yeah, the scrummers came online a bit too late and the ship warped off, which is not a big deal. I mean, from this position to the other gates, it does take about 45 seconds, and the Hurricane is obviously going to be a much slower ship, so I have more than enough time to re-engage them at the other side of the gate. Of course, preferably you don't want this to happen. You want to point them in the at the next jump, but you know, sometimes it happens that you miss the the target. And in this case, I actually prefer the long range disruptors, since when you appear on the gate, basically, it's about 12 kilometers, usual the usual like distance from which ships will appear, and long range disruptors have up to 30-kilometer range. So in order to point them, you want to have the long range disruptors in order to be able to catch them. But stabs are also kind of in the way, so you really want to have the right ship or the right build for this job. I've been also thinking about an Ortus for this. I think a Ortus would actually be really solid, and I will attempt to do this with the Ortus. Haven't been using that ship for a while, but has longer scramblers and has much more points. Could actually be a very interesting ship for this purpose. But in any case, the Hurricane has been tackled. Now I have changed my build a little bit. I have a dual propulsion build, mostly because if I get scrambled, I can still orbit with an afterburner, and of course I have no stabs on this thing, so very good when you have to escape. Now this Hurricane does seem that like it did had some form of tank, but the thing with the Saleos is that it has a very crazy amount of DPS, so easily able to just punch through most of ships' armors and hulls and shields, so not exactly a big issue to kill a battlecruiser with the Saleos. This thing is ridiculously crazy when it comes to the DPS output, and well, the Hurricane has been destroyed, and time for me to orbit back the gate. And I love the cloak ability on this thing. This is why I'm using it. It can cloak, and it's a very sneaky little ship. I love it because it can be so sneaky, and it can have so much DPS. It is a very rewarding ship to fly, and I've been enjoying the Saleos ever since it was released. The only complaint that I think most players will actually have, and the only complaint that the only valid complaint that I can kind of think of at the moment, is the insurance cost. For the love of God, please just reduce the damn IP cost on these ships. Not only the cruisers, but reduce the damn IP cost on the navies, on the frigates. It's ridiculous! But let's go to the next target. Now, we have a prophecy... a command prophecy, my apologies. I almost said prophecy guardian, but it's a command prophecy. Now, I actually thought to use my own prophecy against this ship, but I know command ships can be nasty, and I'm never underestimating command battlecruisers. They are very serious ships. Even the tier 8 variants of them, or tier 9, they are very serious ships, and always approach the command ships with caution, since they can have some ridiculous amount of DPS, firstly, and secondly, they can have some very nasty tank. And I took the Mach for a ride. Well, I actually expected this to be a tanky one, and unfortunately it wasn't a tanky one. 3 hits, all it took. I should have just taken a battlecruiser for this target, but lately I've been picking the wrong ship for the... not technically wrong ship, I mean, the target has been destroyed, right? But the thing is, did I really enjoy the encounter? Not really. I just executed the ship in like 3 seconds. Is that enjoyable? Well, maybe for some, but for me, not really. I prefer the longer battles. But, a kill is a kill in the end, and 677 million is not bad. Didn't look like a PvP though, PvP DPS build, so there's that. Maybe it's the right choice I took the Mach for this target, maybe not. I would say probably not. Could have had a much more fun battle with Prophecy Guardian if I used that thing, but I'm still waiting for the chance to use that thing in combat. Haven't had the chance to use a Prophecy Guardian at all so far, and that kind of sucks because that ship is really fun. But I'll just hopefully be patient, and maybe one day I'll have the chance to use that ship. Next we have a Omen, and I'll use my own trainer ship. This is... I even have the wrong implant.
Drive active.
I don't really need to... I mean, this thing is... This ship kind of has a history. It's not a new ship that I bought. It's a ship that I got from a player that quit the game like 3 years ago, and I just started using it recently. I still have a lot of ships that some of the friends that I used to play with gave me, and kind of sad when you go back and look at the ships that are not really yours. And this ship is not technically mine. I'm just having it because it was given to me. But We have a Omen, and let's orbit at 0. I have no implant. I have no right implant on this ship right now. I have only the. I have the barrage implant, which is not going to do much with drones. But you know, I think will be more fair to the Omen Trainer. So yeah, let's just see what happens here. Orbiting at 0. Now I have a large neutralizer, and that large neutralizer can be useful, can be helpful to just destroy the tanks of ships that I engage. Although this Omen is using dual Nosferatus, so I will have to turn off my neutralizer since I want to lose points. I can easily run without any capacity. This is a passively tank ship, but I need capacity to run the points and you know and the afterburn. So I need to have that turned on. And I'll give credit to the Omen. It does seem like they did take some hits there. Dual Nosferatus, okay, yeah, that's and a dampener. Although I'm not really sure if I think the dampener is actually coming from the ships within the mission, but regardless, this thing actually has like 20,000 in shield, which is kind of funny because this is a trainer ship and it has so much in shield. It's very cheap. If it dies, it dies. I don't really care about my trainer ships, although in this case I'm still a bit careful since this is technically not my ship, but you know, I've been using it for I've had it for like 2 or 3 years now, so
warp drive active.
Technically it's mine, but I don't really look at it as my ship. And well, the Omen has been destroyed, and this is like one of the most like basic builds on a trainer that you can have. Passive shield and just the DPS that it rolls is basically enough for most, so not really a big problem, honestly. It works, and as long as it works, that's good enough for me. Now let me quickly check if you can still dock with timer, since we had the update, and you know, always important to check if you can dock with timer. So if one day you can't, I don't attempt to dock with a expensive ship, but always important to check this after every update, because you never know what the developers can do. They can do something sneaky and change the things, how they work in background, and you know, can lead to some nasty losses. And I'm trying not to have too many losses. Cheap ships are fine, but expensive ships, yeah, I need to get rid of those. 12 million, not bad. I mean, my Omen here is, well, technically my Omen is much more cheaper than this. He uses like much more cheaper equipment, so that's a pretty solid kill. Let's go to the next target using my next cheap ship. This is the classic Stubber, the old school. I wish that I actually did fly this in the old days, although in the old days I flew the R-beam. But you know, this thing also works, and I started to use it now, so not going to complain at all. Now I'm going to I'm warping to the. They have been quite far away. The Vextor's been quite far away from the center of the mission, so actually it's the Serpentis base. Oh, okay, they're in the base. Okay, they are in the Serpentis base. The Serpentis base can be serious. You know, they can have some very nasty ships, and that was a pretty decent warping. The Vextor is there. I have a long range disruptor because for the most part ships that I engage with this ship don't have a lot of stabs. So long range disruptor is good since I can point them at a longer distance. Vextor is now in armor, and Vextor has been destroyed. Okay, let's take out the pod if possible. I have been scrambled, but that's not a big problem. I'll just destroy the Serpentis catalyst. I have a lot of shields. I also have a damage roll, so I'm not really worried about being scrambled. And surprisingly, this little ship ended up being decently tanked. I mean, it does work really well, and for how much it costs, it performs really well. Again, the cheap ships are really fun, and engaging a low tier ship with a low tier ship is much more fun than engaging a high tier ship with a high tier ship. So let's now warp out.
Warp drive active.
This thing also warps fast. I mean, it's a rusty Stubber, so we're not really surprised by that. Rusty ships tend to warp faster since, you know, they have lots of rust on their hull, and Rust is weight reduction. I learned that from Honda Civic drivers. And of course, no hate on Hondas. I would actually say they're very decent and fun cars. They're actually very quick cars as well, so yeah. I like them. I like them a lot. And let's
Warp drive
dock,
active.
because why not? And then we can take a look at the... We can take a look at the kill. See what kind of build they had. If I don't get executed by the gate guns, that is. Can always happen. Can always happen, so...
Docking
Okay, thankfully it
request
docked on
accepted.
time, okay, good. Sometimes the docking sequence takes like a more than a second, you know, and I find it really funny because that's like the little moment of heart attack where your ship just sits there for a second or two before the Severtic actually does calculate your entry to the station, and that can be quite funny. That can be quite funny, to say the least.
Undocking.
The next target we have a battlecruiser, and I'm a little bit late. It's one of those examples where I'm 8 years too late to the party. Happened quite often recently. I don't know why. Just my luck has been worse and worse, and luck is a very important
Warp drive
aspect
active.
of every game, like it or not. And my luck has been worse and worse. It's getting worse and worse. So yeah, such is life. Can't do anything about that. And I'll try to do PvP for as long as I can, but at this rate I can definitely tell you at one point there will be a time, and that time is actually coming really quickly, where I'm not going to be able to do any PvP anymore because I'll just have absolute no luck. Maybe this year, maybe next year, who knows, but I'm fairly sure that is definitely
Warp drive active.
not that far off from this moment of time. Just based on how much luck I've had recently, not only in this game but in other games. It's progressively getting worse and worse without any signs of it ever getting better. So yeah, that's just how it is. And as you can see, I'm pretty late to the party, although I did land very close. Not going to complain about my warping, pretty decent. But watch this. Now I have pointed them, I have tackled them, but they had more than 12, 16 or 20 stabs. That's a lot of stabs on that battlecruiser. And one of the occasions where I kind of wished that I had a fourth scrambler, but I was really rushing to get the most basic of basic anti-battlecruiser sniper builds on the starters to have that up and running. And of course, I should have calculated to start using a fourth one, but you know, it's fine. As I mentioned before, luck is a very important part, and yeah, no luck, no kill. If I did spend to look for a fourth scrambler, I would warp in and the turret would already be warping out. So yeah, in both ways I would miss the target, so couldn't be avoided. Now where did I warp here? Oh my god, let's not creep around this anomaly. That's a
Warp drive
XL Wayseeker anomaly. That's a big nope. Yeah, I'm cloaked. Okay, if I wasn't cloaked, I'd be dead. I'm not too sure how many points they have, but fairly sure they have more points than I can handle with the Stratus. So yeah, cloak saves lives as much as a damage control does. Although cloak can be, you know, a bit more practical, but you know, the damage control is also fairly decent. And let's go to the next target. We have a Armageddon, although this Armageddon
Warp drive
did look
active.
like it was aligned. Nevertheless, I'm just going in. If I miss the target, I miss. Not really much I can do. I mean, no alt for tackling, and there is no proper warping to do the warp tackle stuff. So warp ram and, you know, and that thing. And if we miss, it happens, and I'll just go to the next target afterwards. Although seems like my fleet member did warp faster. I love how my Macari is like the slowest Macari ever to be built. I love that. My Macari is literally the slowest Macari out there. Even though it's fast as a cruiser, it's still slow compared to my friends' Macarials. They have like
Warp
cruiser
drive
level
active.
speeds, and I really should start adding like more speed on this thing. Or maybe I should start flying something different. Who
Warp
knows?
drive active.
Now here I was basically roaming around. Maybe I actually heard that there was an orca around, so I took the cells out for a little spin and decided to run around to see if you know, by some miracle I get lucky to to catch an orca. However, I'm not really sure if I would be able to kill an orca with the cells, even with the ridiculously high DPS. Now I have two cells cruisers,
Warp
this one
drive
and I have the other one. The other one is currently in low sec, and that's usually the more expensive one. The special occasion cells, basically. I use that ship specifically for expensive targets that I know can drop a lot of ISK. Basically, I throw expensive at expensive. One of the ways how I can ensure to
Warp drive
kill the
active.
target before they warp out, since I know usually the targets that are worth shooting at are stabbed to the roof, and if you can kill them before they can warp out, it also works. Not a thing that I like to do, because again I enjoy slower paced battles, but when I'm forced to do that, I'm forced to do that, because there is no other way
Warp
to
drive
basically
active.
catch a target like that with a lot of stabs. You either have enough points, or you kill them before they can warp out. Both options are not really what I would say fun in my book, because if you have a lot of stabs, your ship looks really simple. I mean, the build is very simple: 5 scramblers, and that's about it. If you have a lot of DPS, it's about the same. You kill the ship in a blink of an eye, and
Warp
well,
drive
where's the
active.
enjoyment in that, right? But nothing I can do about that unless the mechanics of the game change. Can't do anything about that until stabs are either nerfed, or in general if they change how they work, when they have some drawbacks or stuff like that. And at the moment I don't
Warp
really
drive
see any of
active.
that happening anytime soon, so yeah, it is what it is. Can't blame me for using ships with stupid high amount of DPS, because as they say, a stupid problem usually can be solved by a stupid solution, and in this case the stupid solution is to just strap as much DPS as you can on your ship and just yeet, or strap as many points as you can and well yeet, and both of which are dumb solutions, but it is what it is. Nothing I can
Warp
do
drive
about that.
active.
Well, turns out there is no orca here, so yeah, I was kind of a fail. But in any case, we have been chasing a Mammoth. Okay, for a second, I mean we have been chasing like 2 different ships throughout this little system here. We've been chasing this Mammoth, and I think we have been chasing a Naros, or Naros too. And we'll have to double. I mean, I think I'll include that, since we are still kind of running around and trying to intercept ships with a bubble. I mean, a bubble is so effective. If you have a friend that can bubble, you can easily just roam around in Null. And if you have that's actually a pretty expensive one, not gonna lie. Pretty good Mammoth kill there. But if you have a friend with a bubble, it doesn't have to be like an expensive bubble. A destroy bubble is more than enough. You can just intercept ships with it, bubble it, and then your friend with DPS can just be on top of the target. It's fun, and it's more active in the play style. You basically just run around the map, run around null systems, and you
Warp drive
go and you catch ships, you catch stuff that way. And honestly, I kind of missed this. Back in the early days, we used to kind of do the same, although
Warp
it
drive
doesn't
active.
feel the same, because back then I used the Ashmo, and the Ashmo is definitely a much more enjoyable ship, I would say, for this purpose, since I mean there is just that special feel to the Ashmo that is unmatched
Warp
even to this
drive
day,
active.
and unfortunately that's just gone at the moment. But I could technically use an Ashmo again, since we do have a tackle bubble for incoming ships. Now here we have a that's the Naros. Okay, we have been chasing that ship left and right. We missed the Naros. Now we're just going to wait to see. Oh, there they are. Okay, let's jump in. Let's intercept. They have escaped like a couple times. Well, this time they're not gonna be that lucky. That was a good call on our fleet commander to go here and basically intercept them, since usually the ship that does go through one route will return through the same route if they don't change the autopilot, and most don't do that. Most usually go from through the same route. So yeah, it was quite easy to predict where they will come from, and that was a nice little catch. Let me just get the pod real quick, and then we can orbit back at 4 kilometers. The thing, I mean, I absolutely love the way that the cloaking device works on this cloaky Saleos, because you can just be so sneaky with it, and they did carry some very nice materials, planetary materials. I mean, I say very nice. It's loot is loot. I'm not going to complain about loot. Whatever I get, whatever we get, it's fine. I'm here to have fun, and fun is priority. So loot is secondary, or the third part of on the pyramid. Anyway, that was a good catch. And now let me return and jump through the gate to go and see if there is more ships on the way. Have to be careful though. Lancers are all over the place, and Lancer. I actually haven't tested out the Saleos versus the Lancer yet. I think I can survive Doomsday because I have like 50,000 shield on this thing, and I'm fairly sure it can survive a hit. So not really worried about a Doomsday with the Saleos. Well, maybe I should be worried. I don't know. I haven't tested out. I'm just saying it should be able to survive. It has a lot of shield and a damage control, so you can just pop that when necessary. And that's that's what I'm talking about. That's the Naros that we missed. That's what I'm talking about. Thing is, we have been too slow. The Naros does warp quite quickly, and
Warp drive active.
I think my ship technically can catch it, since angel ships do have a bonus on warp speed. But I actually forgot how much faster the Naros is. Maybe they're about the same, but in any case, it's one thing to be able to catch them, a different thing to actually lock them. You also have to lock them on, and I don't have any targeting rigs on this ship, and I have a clocking device, which does impact my scan resolution a little bit, so yeah, not exactly like perfect when chasing down cruiser level ships like Naros. It can catch, I mean, it should be able to technically catch a cruiser if I'm fast enough, but usually my targets are my targets are usually battle cruisers, you know, silver cruisers and things like that. At least when I'm solo, I'm never gonna catch a frigate with this ship. Maybe if I start to use my bubble and I start to bubble, then maybe I can in that case, but at the moment, yeah, with the Saleos only able to catch cruiser level is like cruisers, like the smallest ship that I can catch with this thing. And speaking of a cruiser, we managed to intercept a Vexor Navy. I mean, a kill is a kill, I'm not going to complain. Does feel like the good old days. I mean, we used to do the same thing back in like 2020 when I was flying the Phantasm. Can you believe that I actually used the Phantasm back in the day, and we used to do the same thing, but I was in a Phantasm. I haven't used that ship in ages, actually. Don't really feel like I should be using it because I don't have any. I mean, I can technically use the Fiend, I guess, as a bubble. It's quite tanky, decently tanked ship, so maybe I'll use a Fiend for this purpose. We will see. I mean, I have a lot of options, so a Fiend for a solo bubble is kind of a very interesting idea that I would love to explore. Next we have a Cyclone. Now this Cyclone did try to engage us, and I'll give them credit for that. Of course I'm the primary target because I'm usually the primary target, it's fine. Micro wardrive to tackle them. They definitely have a micro wardrive. I'm fairly sure that they have a micro wardrive. Because they were fast. It's a Mammoth ship after all, and even their battle cruisers can be quite speedy. So successfully tackled, and I didn't take much damage. I think they're using a kite build, but we will see. Okay, Cyclone destroyed, and let's take a look at the... let's remove the pod first. Okay, there we go. And now let's go back around the gate, orbit 4 kilometers, just close enough to jump, but also far enough not to be decloaked. 3 kilometers is like the optimal distance if you want to orbit a gate cloaked. I love to do this, it's very effective. 295 million ISK, that's pretty good. It was a PvP Cyclone, although they had a scrambler, I guess a defensive scrambler, in order, if something had got close, I guess they could turn off the micro wardrive. So I guess kind of an interesting idea, but it definitely looked like a kite build to me. And I'm just waiting out for the aggression timer so I can jump back, and let's see if we do find something else on the other side. Oh, well, now Ortus time. Alright, haven't been using this thing. And I talked about the Ortus in the early start of the video when I really want to take this thing out for a Null ride, see how it will work. But yeah, the Ortus was a ship that I used to fly a lot. I mean, this thing is really nice. Still a good ship, but it's not what it used to be. It used to be a much more... this thing used to be very scary back in the day. It really used to be quite scary back in the day. No, I don't know, I mean, implants changed everything, and they also changed the Ortus. Still a good ship though, but I haven't really compared the Ortus to the other cruisers that much because mostly haven't been using it, and you know, other ships, I feel like other ships do the job better. But I could be wrong, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Also a very high possibility that that's the case. So we have an Oracle. That's a perfect warping. Now they did look like they're aligned, but let's see if we can tackle them before they can warp. Well, they have been pointed, they have been scrambled, and 2 torpedo troll Ortus ships. Yeah, that's a lot of DPS, and the Oracle has been destroyed. That was a good catch. So that would be it for today. Yeah, we are at the end of the video. It was a pretty good run. Could have been better. 420 million is not bad, but you know, decent kill. Could have been better, as I said, but you know, I'll take it. You can have luck always. I mean, in my case, I don't have much luck anyway, but you know, can't catch them all every day in the end. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.